I am honored to be with Sander Boelen, founder of Allegiant 3D in Montreal, Canada. Welcome to the show, Sander.
Thank you, Noah.
I met Sander when we were trying to sell a laser, a Trumpf 5005 um, laser. It's meant for a lot of medical work. And Sander was very intrigued by this laser, but uh, it just wasn't exactly right for his job. But he was nice enough to do the podcast. So, um, I today we're going to talk about Canada. Um, it's interesting as a used machinery dealer. We have a lot of customers in Canada, but it just seems like, I don't know, the last 6 months, last year, Canada is just hot. Like a lot of the places we've actually sold machines to has been Canada. So even though maybe it seems little less exotic than say South Africa or wherever else we've done podcasts for this season, it seems like it's a really important place for us to cover. So, first of all, Sander, I want to give people a brief background on your company and you, and then we're going to talk Canada. So, first, tell us a little bit about Allegiant 3D and then what's the origin of it?
Yeah, thank you, Noah. Legion 3D, I guess the name says it. We started off as an engineering company, actually right behind this wall. This is my kitchen wall here. And we figured out that, having in-house machinery is a good idea. And then we also realized that, okay, so now I'm designing and then I'm machining um, as well, and I have to ship and receive, et cetera, et cetera. So that went up to a certain point. We're actually quite successful.
So, who are you machining for? Who are you making parts for?
Mostly customers in the photonics world, people who manufacture lasers, receivers, LiDAR systems,
Mm-hmm.
medical instruments, dental scanners, things like that.
So these people are making machines that they're making lasers, basically machines
Yeah.
with lasers for various purposes.
Well, they're making, they're OEMs.
Okay.
And there are OEMs that have, a chip or an optical system that needs to be put together and stay there under all sorts of circumstances. Imagine inside a car, for example. So we designed that and then we built stuff for the equipment to assemble it, process equipment, tools, fixtures, etc.
So you engineer the laser, and then you create a prototype, and then you sell that prototype to them, and then they can produce their own laser for their own purposes in-house.
You could say it that way. Yes. Yes. So we will help them with their packaging design. That's really the proper word for it. So it's the mechanical means of holding things together, in the optical world. It's called photonics packaging. But there are all sorts of assembly processes that, you need to go through. It's not very straightforward very often.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires a lot of process to it. But we also do the product design. And so
You also do the
we'll build.
product design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And and then the best thing that can happen is that we make the prototypes right away, and we can actually test everything for them.
Okay. So just give me a specific application. So a medical company would come to you that's doing what?
Yeah, for example, there's a great company here in Montreal called Dental Wings. It's an interesting name.
Dental
Uh,
wings.
yeah. And they make intraoral scanners. So basically, that's the scanner that you see these days at your dentist.
I just had that the other day because I'm having a mouthpiece made, and they just stuck this wand in my mouth, and they made a mold
That's
of my
yeah, and
mouth.
then you can see the mapping on the screen of your teeth. So basically, they have a certain arrangement of cameras in there
Hmm.
that look at your tooth from certain angles, and then obviously some very sophisticated software that can take these images and stitch them together and say, well, this is what it looks in 3D. And those cameras, they need, very precise alignment. The optics needs to be very precise, and so there's lighting in there at different wavelengths for different purposes that need to provide the contrast for the teeth. And so all this is small and intricate. And so, not that I designed the handpiece, but I did have quite a bit of, to do with the development and how to put this together with other companies like XPP Photonics, for example. So we team up and then we help these customers.
Very interesting. And then you have various machining centers and stuff in-house to help you make the prototypes.
Yep, exactly. Started off with a little Bridgeport with CNC add-on, and that thing has paid itself off over. And I bought it used, and it's paid itself off over and over again. And it's on its 10th year now. It runs every day, all the time.
Well, you seem like the type of person that would treat your stuff well.
Well,
Um,
yeah, we're talking lead screw replacement, controllers, and everything, but we keep it going because it's such a handy machine.
yeah.
Every shop needs one.
Okay. So if you couldn't tell by Sander's accent, I mean, it's got a little Canadian in it, but he is not originally from Canada. He is from the Netherlands. So why don't you give a little bit of background about coming in from the Netherlands, and then you started the company in 2005?
As a consultant, I started in 2005. And
Okay.
then things got out of control here in the house, and then we went and founded A3D or Allegiant 3D and went into the industrial park. And that's a much better setting for a machine shop.
Okay. So you were from the Netherlands. Where in the Netherlands?
I'm from the south. I would say between Amsterdam and Eindhoven, if you know Holland a little bit.
Okay.
Amsterdam being the capital and Eindhoven being a great breeding ground for all sorts of technology.
Interesting.
Yeah, CD and all sorts of. I think even the tape cassette was developed there.
Wow.
But
Okay.
now we're talking chip foundries and whatnot. Very high tech still.
Okay. So, you grew up in Netherlands and then you studied in Netherlands as well, because this
Yep.
works too, because we're talking about international stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I did my apprenticeship at McGill University. Uh,
which is in that's in Canada. Where is McGill?
Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah,
Okay.
beautiful, right in the mountain. Yeah, it's a fantastic place to be for anyone. So
Yeah.
yeah, gorgeous. And so that kind of got my first foot into Canada.
Why did
Uh,
you go all the way to Canada?
I wanted to do something different, and I was, taking that as an opportunity to see what else is out there.
Yeah. Why did you
And
choose Canada versus United States?
well, it had to do with the programs that we had,
Mm-hmm.
um, And one of the former students actually set up a program at McGill University in the physics department. And so he's kind of paying it forward or back or whatever. And so then he ended up receiving all these Dutch students, and I just happened to be one of them. And I think, the stay rate is about whatever, 20, 30%. So of all the students that came to visit, quite a few stayed.
Right, because they like smart immigrants coming in Canada and allowing them to stay. Well, I'm assuming you are, considering you're playing with lasers and not beyond playing with lasers, but okay. So you came here, you studied at McGill, which brings me a little bit, everybody's talking about education and everywhere, and colleges are free in Canada still, right?
Yeah, they cost some tuition, but yeah, generally they're free. Yeah,
they're free.
Public education, yes, and universities are not expensive.
They're not expensive. What's not expensive? Do you know? You have any idea?
Geez, I've got 2 kids in university. I should know. Yeah. I don't know. Tuition probably $2,500 a year or something like that.
Wow.
Plus
at like a really good school.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And anywhere in the country, or do you have to be in your own state?
No. Well, you need to qualify for the university. So they're not going to let you in like that, of course.
Try to get a little more in the camera there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. No, I'm saying, but like, do you have to be? If you're in Alberta, do you have to go to the University of Alberta? Or
no, not at all.
Go anywhere in the...
No. Yeah. We get a lot of people from the US, or we used to. Maybe this coming school year might be different with the travel restrictions, but a lot of people from the US come to study in Montreal.
I wonder if it's less expensive for us to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And plus there are some good universities here.
Yeah. I was listening to this Malcolm Gladwell podcast, and he was talking about how, I think he went to McGill, and unlike Harvard or Yale here, where they have a specific number of students they let in, he said, if you're qualified, they let you in. They're not so hung up on that. That's right? As far as you know?
Seats are limited. If you want to go into a medical program, for example, those entry levels are extremely stringent, and we're talking about maybe 1 or 2 out of every few hundred applicants will actually get the admission. So
okay, so it's still competitive, but
very, very much so. Yeah.
What about trade schools? Do you know of many trade schools in?
Yeah, it's interesting. There is. We moved out about 8 miles from here, and in that town there is a great machining trade school that we haven't even taken advantage of. And we're looking to hire anybody in the Montreal area. Let us know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the people, most people listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure pretty sophisticated on their geography, but in case anybody isn't, Montreal is the French part of Canada. And how far is that from Toronto? Because Canada seems like it's just a huge place.
Yeah, it's a 5-hour drive, and it's a boring one too.
Okay, 5 hours.
Lots of trees. All you see is trees the whole way.
And do you feel like it's another, like it's a quasi other country? I know you hear people try to make it out like they say, oh, the people over there, they just speak French and they don't want to speak English. Or, well, what's it like? You have French on your answering machine, don't you? On your voicemail?
Yeah, there was probably a poor attempt on my part, but I do speak it. So it's never given me issues. Generally, when I speak to a Quebec person or a French Canadian, let me rather, and you know they'll hear right away, oh well, geez, he's English. Let me just switch, and they will switch off perfectly. It's not an issue at all. You know,
They don't. But like the default, if you're walking down the street in Montreal, people are going to speak to you in French, and all the signs are going to be in French.
yeah, the signs have changed in French, and generally people will speak French. Yeah, yeah. It depends where you are in Montreal, but yes.
Interesting. So your area of Canada is known a lot for aerospace.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Whereas Toronto, that's heavy automotive, correct?
Yeah, Toronto region, and you know towards I would say Detroit. There, that's very much automotive. Yes.
Okay. And so, like, what companies would you guys supply to in Montreal? Are you exporting a lot, or are you?
That's the interesting part. Most of my customers are from the U.S. and
Okay.
so I have a few here, and they're in photonics. So,
What about all the aerospace companies or the aerospace suppliers in the Quebec? So Quebec is a state, correct?
it's a province, yes.
It's a
And
province.
so you will find when it comes to machining, right? That's what we're talking about. You will find a company like Eru DevTech that will fabricate an entire landing gear. You know, they'll build the whole thing, they'll machine it and everything for whatever plane you need. And then you have my friends not too far from me who are in a very small shop, and you know they'll make you know all sorts of parts for aircraft. So you know they go from extremely large companies to you know very small shops. They're all qualified suppliers. Right?
Okay.
Starting a shop is one thing, but being a qualified supplier in aerospace is it's a different ballgame.
Is it easy? Do you think it's relatively easy to start a shop in Canada versus somewhere else in the world?
Well, I equate it to, you know, almost like buying a motorcycle. It's easy to buy a motorcycle, but you also need your helmet, your boots, and, you know, your clothing, and oh yeah, license and whatnot. So, you know, a machine is very easy in Canada, actually. I don't know what it's like in the US, but that's the easy part. You know, renting a building, sure. There's not much to it.
Getting capital, borrowing money.
Yeah, the people I deal with make it extremely easy for me, and that's actually how I was, you know, how I had the courage to buy my first real CNC machine, not the you know the small machine with the add-on.
Do you think you would have started the same kind of company had you been in Netherlands? Or you couldn't really answer that because you don't know that much about it.
You know, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Friends of mine have done it, and they run great shops over there.
All right, you should recommend one for me to talk to. I need an interview the next week.
Oh, sure. I could do that. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Good guy.
So is the government in Canada good for, and now we're going to get a little political, but would you say that the way things are set up and this government in particular, are they pretty good for business and for the machining industry?
They're good for my business. And you know, I keep saying we're an engineering company, but then, you know, we have a whole bunch of CNCs now. Oh yeah, we need a CMM. And so we're kind of becoming a machine shop.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing wrong with that. You know, there's such a thing in Canada as R&D tax credits. So if you team up with other companies or your customers, and you develop a process, or you develop something for them that is considered, that falls into that category, the R&D category. You get tremendous tax breaks on those, and that encourages people to actually, go after novel things and actually keep developing, because it gets rewarded, right? And it's a great way to stimulate any kind of company to stay ahead.
Well, you have a lot of customers in the United States. So I'm sure you talk to them about what it's like to have a company in the United States. What do you think is a difference between having a company in Canada and the United States? Just, at a glance from where you come from.
Well, fundamentally, it's not that much difference. We have looked at it early on when we just started Allegiant 3D, and it was a little too early. And we're still looking at it. It's just a matter of finding the opportunity. I think as a business owner, you need that one opportunity that's going to keep the lights on. That's going to be your stepping stone. And then, that takes the risk away, and then you can go ahead first, and then you can build your company on that incrementally. Or if you can get funding, then it's even easier. But, not many people who run shops work that way.
Do you consider Canada a socialistic philosophy in the government, in the way the people think? Or
yeah, I would say so. They're especially Quebec traditionally has been very socialistic. They would have things like $7 a day daycare. Where do you? Well, that's where it started. I don't know where it is now. It might be $12 Canadian, so it's still $7.
Wow.
Not quite, but why? Because that encourages the workforce to get to work, and it's also helps kids play with other kids and stuff like that. So those kind of things, the Medicare system, free for everyone.
And so you don't have to provide healthcare as one of your benefits for your employees?
No, we don't. That was a bigger difference when we looked at starting a company in the U.S. That's one of the bigger ones where if you really want to employ people, you're going to have to provide healthcare. We were kind of taken back by it. We do have in Canada supplementary medical programs in our company. So you get free dental if you have a stiff neck, and get yourself a massage, etc., all these things. So we've just recently implemented it. So as your company grows, you kind of have to, make it nicer to work at a company with some benefits.
Right. Well, is that sort of an expected thing to get that stuff?
Not at small companies. Larger companies, it is. Yes. Yeah.
Do you think the taxes are a lot higher?
I know they're higher. they're yeah.
So how much? So for somebody making I don't know, 50,000 loonies a year, or 75? How much of their income is taxed? Like 50%?
After a certain bracket, yes, you'll be taxed 55%. Yes, I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah.
And people, that's just what they know, so they don't gripe about it like they do here.
Well, okay, but then what are you going to do with your money, right? If you take that and invest it in a pension fund, then that gets subtracted from your. Or it's a tax benefit, not a tax benefit. Yeah, it's a tax benefit. So, you save on paying your taxes and you invest in your future. So there are ways out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think people would be surprised about? People around the world, what would they be surprised about Canada or Canadian people?
Okay. Uh, all right, let's talk about the weather.
Yeah,
It
that's
can be
interesting.
really cold here, and you don't know how cold. But it can also be really hot here, uh, extremely hot.
When
And
I think of Montreal, I think of like snowy mountains, and I don't.
not at all.
Are there mountains in there? I don't even know. I mean,
Montreal is comes from the name Mount Royal, and
oh,
Montreal is on a mountain, or actually it's an island, and there is quite the mountain there. So
okay. So the
yes,
weather.
and we look. I drive for 20 minutes and I'm skiing. So uh, guaranteed snow.
Where do you see Canada going forward as far as the economy and the machining industry? Do you
Hold
see
on, hold
a
on,
lot? Oh, yeah.
hold on. I've got a dog here who's going to interrupt the show. I'm going
Oh,
to have
it's all
to edit
right.
this out. Yeah.
No problem.
Did you go to your mat, Sash? You oh, don't. All right. If she be is sorry.
No problem.
You were talking about Canada and where?
Well, a lot of people before COVID, a lot of people in the United States were saying like, this is a great time. They think the next few years of manufacturing are going to be like the time to be in it. They're just seeing a lot of growth. So where do you see Canada? Do you see a similar thing?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I think it has to do with a number of things where, I mean, manufacturing is being pulled back into North America. And we are definitely noticing it. Um, our Canadian dollar is low, which is, good for some things and
Mm-hmm.
not good for other things.
So what a Canadian dollar right now is what, 75 cents to the dollar?
I think it's less than that. It's $1.40. So whatever the reciprocal value of that is, yeah, it's and it's pretty stable that way. So there's it is a bit cheaper to manufacture things here, for sure. Wages are also uh, a bit lower than I would imagine in other provinces or in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. But you think it's going to blow up or keep growing once the COVID thing is over? You think?
Yeah, look, I mean, um, right now, uh, especially aerospace around our area, we are starting to notice that aerospace is taking a hit. And, Allegiant 3D is extremely busy right now. And in a way, it's our luck. We have other shops helping us out now. So we're a pretty tight community, so we can call each other up, say, please take my overflow because it's, I can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really been helping us out the last couple of months. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to go. But
It seems
certainly,
like you have a great niche with the photonics. I mean,
yeah. Thanks. It looks that way. Yeah, it's looking that way, and it's one of those. If you build them, they will come. And that's how I contacted you in the first place. Where okay, so now we need to do this really sophisticated welding job. I can't really find anybody who can do this for me in high volume or cheaply. So now what are we going to do? We're going to look for equipment
yeah.
and buy it and then we'll get to work, right? It's also partially in your hands, right? There's pandemics and politics aside, um, you know you make the right moves and then you can attract and earn all that work.
Nice. What's the biggest challenge you're dealing with right now?
Uh, for us,
Finding the right laser welder.
yeah, that's affordable. I found the right one.
I saw the same one over in Asia, right?
Yes, nice machine. Uh, we're thinking about it. Biggest challenge, I think. So we're a very young company, and the as you grow and as you are attracting bigger customers, it's you got to say no to your smaller ones sometimes because you just can't deliver. The other one is now you're playing at a different level. You must produce consistently the right parts all the time. Getting one part out good, it's easy. It doesn't make you much money, but it's easy. Making a whole bunch of parts good is much harder. And I think that's where our current challenge as a growing company lies, is to make sure that our quality control is exactly what it should be. The first part, the last part that comes out of the machine, they have to be identical. And so that's our biggest challenge right now. We'll overcome it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good problem to have if you are turning away some people. It's the whole 80-20 thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think for us, we're making the right moves. We're a handful of people, and we have our own ERP system, and and all the production management tools, so that we are ready to absorb this kind of growth. Right? I'm not going to buy a whole bunch of machines and then I can't run them because I can't plan properly. So it's again one of those cases. If you build them, they will come. And that's what we're doing.
Just a couple more questions. How has luck played a part in your success?
Hold on just a second. You're going to have to redo that question. I have my young daughter here.
Oh, no problem.
You're telling me to be quiet?
All right, please go ahead.
No
Sorry about
problem.
that.
No problem.
Where were we?
I asked, has luck played a big part in your success?
Yeah, sometimes. Just being in the right place. It's a good question. I think yes. I am lucky to have the network that I have and to work with the people that I'm working with.
Yeah.
And then, you do your job well enough, you will create the circumstances that will lead to more work or success. Not that we're the ultimate successful company, but we got a lot of work.
Right. And we're lucky to live in North America, in first world countries. I mean, you could even just say that.
Oh yeah. If it comes to that, for
it's
sure.
It's like you're winning the lottery, really. I mean,
yeah. Honestly, I'm pinching myself. Where we live and how we live, we're definitely lucky ones. Yes.
What's one of the most interesting things you've learned in the last week? It doesn't have to be about machining.
Well, I think it has to do with, working hard, and I think, and the flip side of that. And there's only so much work you're going to get out of a human being, right? And what I'm trying to say is, so, you know, it's the value or the productivity of a certain person. So if you go from 40 hours to 45 hours, you get a little more productivity out of a person.
Maybe.
You know, you keep pushing that, and then there's a diminishing return where people start burning out, they get sick and everything, and you're back to 40 hours again. At the end of the year, you've produced a year's worth of work. So what are you going to do, right? Are you going to, you know, keep pushing? Sometimes you need to push hard, you know, a couple hours extra, it's fine. But chronically pushing hard is not a good idea. That's the answer.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer. Was there anything this week that that made you come up with that, or it's just something that kind of came to you that's accumulated over?
Yeah, I mean, look, the pandemic has been, you know, extremely hard on us. You know, we had to run skeleton staff, and I invoked the Child Labor Act and brought all my kids to work because we didn't have to do any social distancing. So my daughter here, she was 12 at the time. She was running machines and doing inspection, and you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we had orders. We have to keep going. I might get arrested for child labor now.
Well,
I didn't pay her, so maybe it's slavery. I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the world?
Yeah, let's try and keep calm the next months, years, maybe. You know, we all need to take it easy, make sure that we come out of the other side of this pandemic in good shape. You know, and keeping the peace.
Great. Thanks so much, Sander. This was.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have you listened to any of them yet?
Yeah, I did. I listened to some of them, and I'm privileged to you know, be interviewed by you. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're totally boosting my ego. Like nicest thing somebody's told me today.